Hello, today is December 14th, 2023, and it's time for a new stock pick video. Probably the last pick of the year, so these stocks are going to be primarily picked that I'm going to have for 2024, but they should be good for beyond that, for the longer term. As always, I'm going to review the performance of my picks from this time last year. I give a little bit of an analysis of current economic and market conditions, and give you my stock picks based on where I think the economy and markets are going, and obviously with the underlying fundamentals in mind as well when picking the stocks, which tends to be more important in the long run. So this time last year, I picked RLI Corp, symbol RLI, an insurance company. This stock was up 6% since this time last year, including dividends. I picked Tricon Residential, a real estate operator of primarily residential rental properties. The stock was up 11.4%, and I also picked Celanese, symbol CE, an industrial company, and that stock was up 46.9% for an average of 21.4% in US dollars, including dividends, which compares with 18.5% for the performance of the MSCI World in US dollars, including dividends. And the returns for 2023 for the benchmark and my picks exceeded my expectations. In fact, I was expecting more single-digit returns, and my picks were generally a little bit more conservative throughout the year. That did not materialize. The markets have had a good year, especially the US market and global markets, Canada less so, and with growth outperforming value by quite a large margin. And I believe the reason for that is the massive deficit spending by especially the US government. They had deficit spending somewhere in the region of like 8% to GDP, of GDP. And with their GDP growing in the 4% range, I guess all of that growth and more was attributed to the fact that they had such huge excess spending, and that kept both the economy afloat in the US and globally, as well as markets. Now, looking forward for the next 12 months, at some point that kind of spending will subside, and especially after the US elections, if the Republicans get voted in. Well, that's the expectation anyway. And so the market will have to, and the economy will have to stand on its own two legs, so to speak. And the outlook for that, if it has to stand on its own two legs, it's a little bit gloomy. Just like our weather here in Vancouver today, it's all cloudy and dark. So with that in mind, my picks for this year, for the coming year, 2024, are going to be like two more conservative consumer staple type companies in case we have a recession in the US or the rest of the world, and one more like an attacking play in case we don't. So in line with my expectations of a recession being around 60% or so. So my first pick is going to be one that I picked before, a grocery store chain operating in many different countries, but primarily in the US, even though they're headquartered in Holland. Constantine Lycos, symbol, where is it here? ADRNY. So yeah, we're looking at US grocery chains, European ones. They're all over the place. It's a really big company, and the idea with that sort of company is that their profitability doesn't really change much depending on market economic conditions. So people need their groceries no matter what, and whether inflation is high, inflation is low, and the economy is good, the economy is bad, business is fairly stable. So the main metric there is what price do you have to pay for the stock? Is the price good or is the price not so good? And as it so happens, in the last 3 or 4 months or so, the stock kind of underperformed the market, which is a good thing because we want to buy it at a lower price, because investors are mostly focusing on growth. They're very optimistic at the moment, and so that gives us an opportunity to buy a consumer staple type company at a good price, which doesn't happen very often. So that's stock pick number one. Stock pick number two is Imperial Brands, the fourth largest international tobacco company. Again, very stable business, mature obviously business. There's no growth there, but still, company generated revenue in the last 12 months of something like $200 billion. Cigarettes and tobacco, as bad as it is, people are still buying it. And these guys are making very good profits, and very kind of stable profits. Return on equity for the last 12 years has been in the 20s and the 30s in terms of percent. And while the price is not necessarily cheap, it's cheap enough for us to be interested in. So it has a very good a dividend yield of 7.1%. And because there is no real growth in these sort of businesses, they're buying back stock. So they're buying back an additional, let's say, 5% in terms of net buyback yield on top of the dividend. So, I mean, it's quite possible that we could get a 12% return longer term from a stock like that, and we don't have to worry about the economy being good or bad for next year and so on, or the year after. Obviously, longer term, this is not a huge growth business, and well, it's not at all. And we will eventually get out of it, but for the next year or two or three, it should be good. The next pick is an industrial company, and so that's the attacking part of the picks. An equipment manufacturer, Japanese, by the name of Komatsu, symbol KMTUY. They make construction equipment to be used primarily in the construction and mining businesses and utility businesses. And the mining business in particular is experiencing a secular growth due to the demand for electric vehicles and batteries. A lot of minerals are required for these batteries. And the mining business is expected to grow tremendously over the next 10 plus years. So they're going to need equipment to use, and this company kind of makes that sort of equipment. The profitability of this company is reasonable. It's not, I guess, as good as the tobacco company. Return on equity is around 10 to 12%, and the valuation is obviously lower. But surprisingly enough, even though this is an industrial sort of business, the company's profitability has been very stable through recessions in the past. So that's stock pick number 3. As always, if you have a question on these stocks or any other investments, please do not hesitate to give us a call. Thank you. Have a great day and great holidays, and happy 2024.